This funny looking contraption is the Thermomix TM6. After almost 3 years of owning one, I want to share with you my top 10 favourite recipes. Let's dive in. Number 10 is a nice and easy vanilla ice cream. Of course, there's a full version of each video here on the channel. The TM6 makes light work of ice cream. All you'll need is vanilla pods or vanilla essence, milk, cream and sugar, followed by some egg yolks and whiz up. Transfer to a container, freeze, blitz in your Thermi, then serve. Next at number 9 we have the old classic lemon drizzle cake. Now I don't profess to be much of a baker, but I've cooked this countless times and it turns out perfect every time. This is just a case of adding your basic cake ingredients and letting the TM6 do the rest. It really couldn't get any easier. Next, add your cake mixture to a lined tin and simply bake. You don't even have to worry about the messy bowl because the Thermomix will pre-clean itself. Next, prick with a skewer, drizzle and serve. Next at number 8 we have the easiest chili con carne you will ever make. It's cooked in no time and it freezes really well. For its convenience and its freezability, I'd say this is my most cooked recipe in the TM6. Like a lot of recipes in the Thermomix, it really is just a case of simply throwing everything in a bowl and letting the machine do the work. Here I'm using ingredients such as onions, garlic, red peppers, tin tomatoes, chilies, ground cumin, coriander, mince, tomato puree and a bit of sweet chili sauce. And of course it wouldn't be a chili con carne without adding those kidney beans towards the end of the cooking. Perfect comfort food for a cold winter's night. For number 7 we have Portuguese bread. Now owning a Thermomix is all about making your life easier in the kitchen. And it doesn't get any simpler than making your own bread in the TM6. This delicious light Portuguese bread is perfect to get you started. This is a case of bugging your bread flour, water, yeast and salt in the TM6 and letting the machine do the rest. Once your dough is kneaded, just place on a flour baking tray, slice down the middle and bake. Next at number 6 we have sun-dried tomato pasta. This is another ideal recipe for batch cooking and freezing. If you do freeze any leftovers, just simply defrost, reheat in the microwave for a hassle-free midweek meal. This dish is pure indulgent creamy deliciousness. And another dish cooked 100% in the Thermomix. Just brown your onions in the machine, then launch the rest of your ingredients in. Can cooking get any easier? Of course, another benefit is you leave the TM6 to cook while you can get on with other things. Finally, you'll need to add the chicken, the cream and a little bit of white wine. Now all that's left to do is serve up and tuck in. Now we're getting to the business end. It's number 5, it's Eggs Benedict. This classic breakfast originated in Manhattan right back in 1860. Cooking a hollandaise on a hob can be a little bit laborious and quite tricky. It's easy to overheat and if you do, the sauce will split. And of course you know what I'm about to say, the Thermomix makes light work of this hollandaise. This is because its ability to cook at a consistent temperature. This means your lovely hollandaise won't overheat and it won't split. My best advice for cooking this dish is poach your eggs in the Thermomix and keep warm in a low oven. This will give you time to cook your bacon and concentrate on your sauce. This will make it much easier to bring the dish together. To help you get the most out of your machine, I really recommend that you give this dish a try. It also shows how versatile a Thermomix TM6 actually is. Serve on toasted breakfast muffins with ham or bacon and finish it off with some snip chives. Now we're down to number 4, it's sous vide chicken in a creamy mushroom sauce. Now admittedly this isn't my best lighting or camera work, but goodness me, this dish is so good. If you want a restaurant standard dish which you can cook ahead, I really recommend that you give this one a try. All you need is some chicken, mushrooms, white wine, cream, butter and salt and pepper. Firstly you'll need to brown your chicken in a pan, then add some white wine to a saucepan and also your strained mushroom liquor, followed by some cream. Reduce and thicken the sauce and then add your mushrooms. Carefully add your brown chicken and sauce and vac seal in a bag. If you prefer, you can use the manual pump sous vide bags, which you can get relatively cheap. Now get your Thermi preheated in sous vide mode and carefully place the bag in the bowl. Now gently let it cook away for about 2 hours. Trust me, if you've not tried sous vide chicken before, you're really in for a treat. Serve on top of lovely buttery mashed potato with some garlic sautéed green beans and drizzle over that lovely delicious creamy mushroom sauce. Please give this one a go. Now we're down to number 3. We're going to keep the Thermi in sous vide mode and cook some steak. Now I'm pretty sure that you've eaten steak in a top restaurant and it's more than likely been sous vide cooked. And once you've eaten sous vide steak, there really is no going back. Here I serve this again with the good old trusty mashed potato and green bean combo. Firstly, you'll need to get your Thermi into sous vide mode and preheat. Let's get a steak of your choice. Here I'm using fillet. It's really important to mention that you can only cook 2 steaks at a time due to the limited bowl size in the Thermomix. Now season your Ricky Lakes generously on both sides with salt and pepper. Now here I'm using the alternative sous vide bags I mentioned with the sous vide chicken. Now these are much cheaper, that you can reuse them, and they're a great way to get you into sous vide cooking. I'm also adding a couple of fresh thyme sprigs, but this is purely optional. Now you need to seal the deal and pump the air out of your bag. We need as much air out of the bag as possible to prevent the bag from floating in your bowl. And again, the same as your chicken, carefully place your bag into the Thermomix, making sure that you've added the blade cover, and cook for about 2 hours. Next, remove your steaks and discard the thyme sprig if you used, and pat dry with kitchen paper. Next, all you need to do is a sear in a smoking hot pan. For a little bit more luxury, baste with garlic, butter and herbs if you wish. Serve with my peppercorn sauce. Trust me, homemade cooking doesn't get much better than this. If you try this, let me know how you get on. Now we are down to number 2, and it is mushroom risotto. Now risottos are delicious, indulgent, but very difficult to get right. And also, who wants to stand by a pan for about half an hour constantly stirring in stock? Now the reason this is at number 2 because it's absolutely foolproof, and trust me, this is restaurant standard. I regularly serve this at dinner parties and it goes down an absolute treat. It also freezes quite well. You lose a bit of the consistency, but it tastes just as good. Here we'll start by grating some parmesan and parsley and setting aside for later. Now, as I've gradually progressed with this top 10 list, I've noticed a bit of a theme. And that is, virtually every recipe, it's a case of just chucking everything in a bowl and letting the machine do the work. Now, if you're here watching this, there is a good chance that you watched my original review with the Thermomix about 3 years ago. And in that review, I mentioned one of the biggest strengths of the TM6, that it put cooks on a level playing field. Now, I can elaborate and say that risotto is ridiculously difficult to get right. I do pride myself in cooking a good risotto on a hob. But if I cooked this with a TM6, or you cooked it, or your 10-year-old kid cooked it, as long as you use the same ingredients, it would turn out exactly the same. There are Thermomix TM6s in Michelin-style kitchens all around the world. I'm not a Thermomix consultant, but if I was trying to sell one of these machines and I wanted to showcase it, it would have to include a risotto. In my opinion, as a very enthusiastic home cook, it really does show the Thermomix strengths. You may not be a fan of mushrooms. If you're not, there are loads of alternative risotto recipes on Cookie-Doo. There's also a tomato one here on my channel. Now follow the rest of the instructions, let the TM6 do all the hard work, and all that's left to do is serve topped with some Parmesan cheese. Absolutely delicious. That brings us on to number 1, and that is Sri Lankan beef curry. This is as good as anything in my opinion that you'd eat in a curry house. The consistency, the depth of flavour, the heat level, everything is just perfect. Now when you start to grind your whole spices and start to toast them, you know you're in for a proper good curry treat. Now spice grinding is yet another feature in the Thermomix's arsenal. Again, this is yet another dish that freezes really well. Now this is quite a long recipe and there are several stages to it. So please don't be too put off, give it a go, it really is that simple. And trust me, when you serve it up, your guests will think you're some kind of curry guru. Now it's really important in this recipe that you use braising beef. If you use a different cut, such as beef shin, you will need to extend the cooking time. All you've got to do now is follow the on-screen instructions, and trust me, at the end your effort will be worth it. You'll be left with a curry to die for. And that concludes my Thermomix TM6 top 10 recipes. What would be in your top 10, and most importantly, what would be your number one dish? Leave a comment down below. Trust me, I really appreciate it if you did, because if there's a delicious dish that I'm missing, I really want to try it. And lastly, I would like to apologise for the lack of TM6 content. That's because my kitchen has just been renovated. But thankfully all that is now completed, and I'll be back soon with much more content. So thank you so very much for your kind support, and if you're not a subscriber, do consider clicking that subscribe button and help me reach 10,000 subscribers. That's it from me, take care, and I'll see you next time.